Good day, everyone. This discussion covers about the composition of the soil. After this, you are expected to be able to understand and discuss the role of each component of the soil. Just a quick question. What do you think the soil is composed of? What are those things present in the soil? You can write down on the YouTube comment section for your idea before continuing the video. Composition of soils. So, soils are roughly composed of mixture of inorganic and organic components. The components are minerals, air, water, and plant or animal debris or material or the organic matter specifically. These four are divided into two categories as well. These are the soil solids, which are mineral and organic matter, and the soil pores or porosity, which are the soil air and soil water. Okay, this graph shows the distribution of the components of an ideal soil. Take note, these percentages are distribution for an ideal soil. So it means that in the field, the actual scenario, this is not the actual percentages of the soil. Okay? So we have for the soil solids around 50%. The 45% of it is for the soil mineral, which basically are the minerals and rocks present in the soil. The other 5% is for the organic matter, which is the decomposed or the debris of plants and animals in the soil. Take note, if the soil has more than 5% of organic matter or OM, the soil is already considered as problematic soil because the high content of organic matter will affect functions of the other part or component of the soil as a system. The other half is for pore spaces or porosity. These are where the soil air and soil water are within the soil. For an ideal soil, about 25% is the soil water and 25% as well for the soil air, on an average. What are the functions of these pore spaces in the soil? Now, networks of pores hold water within the soil and also provide a means of water transport. So, that pore spaces where the oxygen and water are. So, oxygen and other gases move through pore spaces in soil. Pores also serve as passageways for small animals and provide room for the growth of plant roots. Additionally, some organisms stays in the pore spaces, specifically on the micropores for the microorganisms. Pore spaces are classified into three: macro, micro, and mesopores. It is in the micropores wherein microorganisms are. For the soil solids, we have two. So let's discuss first the organic matter, which is more or less 5%. Organic material constitutes another essential component of soils. The residue of plants and animals as well. This consists of the material or consists the residue. Okay, organic matter. Organic material constitutes another essential component of soils. This material comes from the residue of plants and animals as well. Examples are the remains of plant roots deep within the soil, or materials that fall on the ground such as leaves on the forest floor. Debris of animals also, such as the earthworms. These materials became part of a cycle of decomposition and decay, a cycle that provides important nutrients to the soil, that is, decomposition. The decay of plant and animal material results in the formation of a dark-colored organic matter known as humus, which is generally resistant to further decomposition. End product of decomposition is humus, and we can notice that because of its color, which is dark or black color sa iba. Okay, have you observed the layer of the soil wherein the top layer is darker or black compared to the subsurface layer of the soil? It is because it is in the top soil that those materials decompose. That black or dark colored soil in the ground or topsoil consists the important nutrients for plant use. So it is better use that soil, that dark or black colored soil, for planting some plants because it is composed or it consists essential nutrients that is important to plant. Second soil solid is organic matter or mineral matter which is composed or comprised more or less 45%. The mineral matter composes of inorganic rocks and minerals. The mineral component of soil is made of an arrangement of particles which are sand, silt, and clay less than 2 millimeter in diameter. The combination and amount of the three mineral particles determine the soil's ability to retain water and nutrients. First, sand. Sand has large spaces between the particles which allow air and water to move easily. So if your soil is sandy, your soil has a good aeration and drainage. Second is clay. Clay has tiny spaces between particles, so there is poor aeration and drainage. So if your soil is clayey, it has poor aeration and drainage. But clay has about 100 times the surface area as the volume of sand, meaning surface area of the clay is high compared to sand, which means that the clay soil can hold more water and more nutrients. Okay, so in terms of aeration and drainage, clay is poor in drainage and aeration compared to sand, but in terms of holding water and nutrients, the clay can hold more water and nutrients compared to sand. Silt has some of the qualities of both sand and clay, and the mixture of the three is roughly equal proportion, which is called loam. The mineral and organic matter fit loosely together, forming pore spaces or openings, or empty spaces in the soil. The size of the pore spaces is determined by the size of the mineral particles in the soil, which means that sand particles create large pore spaces, while clay has very small pore spaces. Let's move now to the pores, soil pores. Soil pores, soil water. Once water enters the soil from rain or irrigation, the gravity comes into play, causing water to move downward. Water also is taken up in great quantities by the roots of plants. So it is in the soil pores where soil water is. Coarse soils or the sand soils tend to hold less water than soils with finer textures or clay. Why? It's because sandy soil has large pores and the clay soil naman has small pores. Just take note that the higher the pore spaces, the greater water holding capacity. Porosity. Mas taas ang porosity sa clay soil compared to sandy soil. Kaya nakakapag-hold ng maraming water yung clay soil compared to sandy soil. Soil air. This is the fourth component. In soil, water carries out the essential function of bringing mineral nutrients to plants. But the balance between water and air in the soil can be delicate. An overabundance of water will saturate the soil and fill pore spaces needed for transport of oxygen. The resulting oxygen deficiency can kill plants. This is the scenario of having a heavy rains. So if we have heavy rains, the spaces in the soil is being filled up, is being saturated with the water, in which there is no space for the air already, because all the pore spaces are being filled up with water alone. So it will create oxygen deficiency, in which it will affect to plants, or the plants may die. This is a scenario of pagbaha. Kapag Kapag may baha, yung mga pore spaces in the soil is being filled up with water and no space for air. So the plants die because of the overabundance of water. Okay? Should have just enough amount of water and air in the soil system. Soil is considered a three-phase system. The three phases are soil air, soil water, and soil solid. The amount of each must be in just equally or in just enough. If one is very high, example, more of soil water tends to have lesser air, which leads to problem. Another is more soil air, less soil water, or that is during summer wherein we have less water, no rain for quite some time, it will result to problem in the soil. So during drought, there's no enough water. The scenario in the soil, the pore spaces is filled up with um with air and no water. So it will also create problem. The growth of the plant is affected. Fertile soil permits an exchange between plants and the atmosphere, as oxygen diffuses into the soil and is used by plant roots, and it is used by plant roots for respiration. And in return, the resulting carbon dioxide, the CO2, diffuses through pore spaces and returns to the atmosphere. This exchange is most efficient in soils with high degree of porosity. The burrowing of earthworms, this is one of the function of the macroorganisms in the soil, and other soil inhabitants provide a natural and beneficial form of aeration. If the soil has earthworms or other beneficial organisms in the soil, it will create high aeration, and in which there will be no problem of air within the soil, or oxygen definitely in the soil. Take note, soil is a three-phase system: soil air, soil water, and soil solid. When we say system, it means that the components of each is related or connected to each other. So if one part is so much, it will affect to the other part of the system. So just take note, if there is more water, if there is more soil water, it will create to less soil air, and yung plants ang naapektuhan kasi there is no oxygen for its growth. There is no oxygen for the plants. So okay, take note, soil is a three-phase system, consists of soil air, soil water, and soil solids. If one part is so much, it will affect to the other part of the system. So dapat balance if possible. Okay, and that's all.